always good to be in Lancaster County, but particularly on a day that we are celebrating farmland preservation. I want to pick up where others left off with the thank you. I look around. I try to see you. I'm not sure that I can make you out, by the way. I see heads and nodding heads and hands. But to the farm community, it's been noted, we can do all the right things, but at the end of the day, as Hunter noted, somebody has to say yes, right? And that act of saying yes has happened many times over the years in Pennsylvania farmland preservation. But I always admire the families. I've got both my home farm and the one that my wife and I purchased, which is their home farm, both are preserved in different ways, but ultimately both said yes. And I really think about the families and the decisions that are made to look beyond and take that long view that we often speak of as being critical to the future, of course. But obviously, when you talk about agriculture and preservation, it is that decision that we make about holding on to those assets that are here, particularly in Lancaster County's case, that are like none other around the United States. So high honor to be on the stage, the platform here this day to help honor both the milestone of 1,000 farms, but also a township that's done extraordinary work. So to all who have been involved over the years in getting us to this moment, we say thank you very much, but particularly the farms who said yes. I've told this story numerous times about my father-in-law. In the back of my mind, every time that I'm involved in an agricultural preservation, farmland preservation discussion, I recall his words that in the final days of his life, as we were taking stock of life and those things that were important to sort of share at that moment, I had asked him, his name was Daniel. I said, Daniel, what are you most proud of? And he, without hesitation, said, it's the preservation and the conservation of my farm. Right? And in that moment, you realize the legacy of his 70 plus years of being involved in agriculture came out. But it was more than his lifetime. It was the work that he did to both conserve that property and farm, but what he did in its permanent sense was the preservation of the farm. And every time I step out onto the land, I think of Daniel. And I think of the thousands of Daniels that brought us to this moment, this day. That we could not have done it without the people who said, I see a long view and a future in the business. I want to preserve that land for generations to come. So to all the Daniels who we celebrate today, thank you for what you do. I can talk a lot about farmland preservation and its worth at this moment, sharing a little bit of reflection. I appreciated Mr. Fry opening with the letter to the Board of Commissioners at the time from Amos Funk, because it captured in that letter sort of the intentions of him and the county and the farmers here about what they were hoping to see happen. But I like it because it also reminds us that what we have in Pennsylvania in terms of farmland preservation began in Lancaster County, right? We are #1 in the nation for farmland preservation as a state because you're #1 in the nation as a county for farmland preservation, right? There's a good reminder. There's a reason that our state program was modeled after Lancaster County, right? What the thinking was here, the years of advanced thinking around how do I preserve what's here in Lancaster County is embedded in what we have in our state program. But you think about the public policy making that goes on, and the commissioners talked about this a bit, doing the right things, but think about this. This was not a question that the county was asked. It wasn't a question that farmers were asked. We asked the question, in statewide ballot, will you indebt this Commonwealth to preserving prime agricultural lands in perpetuity? We asked the public. everybody who went to vote in 1987, 2-to-1 margin, they said yes. Right? Think about that. That we asked the public at large, do you value farmland preservation? And they overwhelmingly said yes. I think that's the great story. That we talk about the future and what we're preserving. Yes, we're doing it for agriculture. But this intersection that we found in 1987 will be the legacy of the program. It's those who don't own the land see value in the land, right? That's what we heard overwhelmingly in 1987. $100 million at that time seemed like a lot of money. As we heard, you've done that in Lancaster County, right? I think it's amazing. That's the story I like to be reminded of every time we have a state board meeting, every time we get a chance to stand and thank the farmers and farm community and celebrate. Is that this would be a great thing if it were department, if it were legislature, if it were one governor, if it were simply a county. This is the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's a statement of what we value. It's a statement of what we saw, continue to see. It's the value of agriculture for the state, the importance of it. I think it's a great part of our story. Although predicated on somebody saying yes. That's important. I want to say thank you, certainly to the many, many people who bring us here, the farm community for sure. But you think about the work of the Ag Preserve Board, and I like the term and the wording of that, by the way. It's not farmland preservation, it's Ag Preserve. There's a statement in that. If you think about the board, the commissioners over time, the folks in the legislature who have consistently supported the farmland preservation program in Pennsylvania. A special thank you to our members of the House and Senate who are here today. Appreciate the support today, but also just over time, the leadership out of Lancaster County for agriculture is extraordinary. The Lancaster Farmland Trust, it's a reason you're also #1 in the nation for farmland preservation, because you've got the premier land trust organization for farmland preservation in the nation. That's why. Just all of the people who make this work, it works so well, to the townships, the culture that is here in Lancaster County. Everybody here thinks they're normal, right? Surprise. Extraordinary, right? There's a culture in this community that you find somehow this equilibrium, between all of the pressures. Drive any of these routes, right? You look at the traffic and you say, how do you do that? And how do you, many years on, have 100,000 acres plus, and 1,000 farmers saying yes, and more on the waiting list, by the way? I think it's amazing. So thank you for doing that. There are many ways to tell the story, but it begins and ends with the farm community. Because also with that decision is both a statement of what they want to do, but also provides a clearer path for the generations to follow, to have access to that land and continue the traditions of agriculture. We tried to acknowledge that in our farm bill and the governor proposed, but also was further enhanced by the work of the legislature in their Farming First package, which included, I think, some of the most important aspects, is that in addition to farmland preservation and supporting today's farm community by way of preservation, there's also important investments in conservation. There are investments for business planning, and I want the farms that inherit the acres and the farms to come. I want them to feel as good about the decision that mom and dad or somebody in the prior generation made about the disposition of that land, right? And the conversations that we have about preservation should be the first conversation. It cannot be the last one. And getting these farms to think about the business plans and succession planning and how challenging it is to find those economic enterprises that at the end of the day, agriculture has to be to survive. That's inside this farm bill. It's why the Senate and the leadership of the Senate, Senator Robinson, Martin, Senator Corman, and others, for the very first time in Pennsylvania, supported a tax credit for new and beginning farmers. So those in the reserve farms can transition that to some assistance. It's why we have the business planning piece. It's why the really transfer tax reserve farms is now waived. So many important aspects of the Farm Bill, just to say that parallel to the work that we're doing in preservation, we also have an eye on the future. Farmland preservation is about looking forward. It is not about looking back. We capture history, and we respect that history, but embedded in that deed is a clause that says that this farm will remain a productive agricultural asset in perpetuity. What's perpetuity? Okay, it's a long time. When I served on the Adams County Farmland Preservation Board back in 1989, I was asked to define it. And I said, it's forever in one day. It's forever. That's what the deeds carry. It doesn't say if you'd like to do this, we hope you're successful. It says it shall remain productive agricultural asset in perpetuity. It's a lot of responsibility for this generation and those to follow. So in closing, we make decisions all the time about, in agriculture, decisions are an everyday part of our lives. And some of those decisions are about a season, what we're gonna do in 2020 for crops as an example. Some of those decisions are for a lifetime. The things that we do that we know are important to what we do in our lifetime. And then there are others that are generational, right? They're generational. And farmland preservation falls in that generational category. That what we do is important and we're proud of it, but we know that the generations who follow, who carry that clause, is that they have done something and inherit something that is of value to the families and the owners, but also of value to this community and Commonwealth. And that is a high honor. So to stand and recognize the farms, to recognize the many, many people who have made this day possible, congratulations to you. It's wonderful to stand here and be part of the ceremony that takes a look back, but also is very clearly focused on the future. So thank you for what you do, and I also want to say thanks to our farmland preservation team at the Department of Agriculture, Doug Wolfgang. Many times, I get a chance to talk about it, and I unfortunately miss really key people to say thank you. So Doug Wolfgang and team have done just an amazing job of finding that state support work and do a great job of interfacing with the Ag Preserve Board here in Lancaster County, across Pennsylvania. So a note of thanks to the team. But congratulations to all, and thank you for saying yes.